Now, they were Britain's secret resistance network of highly trained volunteers during the Second World War, but many of us may not even have heard of them, the Auxiliaries. As we remember this week the lives that have been lost in conflict, one veteran aims to raise awareness of this lesser-known military unit. Well, our correspondent Robert Hall is in an Oxfordshire village to tell us more about these unknown heroes. Robert.
This is the story of one of Britain's greatest wartime secrets. In fact, a secret that was kept long after the Second World War ended. It's the story of men and women, mostly civilians, who volunteered to fight and die on their home soil. Now, they operated from hidden bases, and I am sitting on top of one of them. In a minute, we're going to go down there and get a closer look at it. But first, here's a little more on the Auxiliaries and the campaign to see them properly remembered. 1940. The British government is left in no doubt that invasion is looming. Desperate times breed desperate measures. The Home Guard is already in place, but now Winston Churchill orders a new secret army to be formed.
We had about 3/4 of a ton of explosives and equipment. They would almost certainly only live for probably a fortnight or 3 weeks once there was an invasion, but in that time they would try to do as much damage as possible.
Peter Potter joined his father's team. As farmers, they could move around without rousing suspicion. Like every unit, they went underground to avoid detection.
They were looking for sites that were on high ground.
Most of the secret bunkers disappeared long ago, but researcher Will Ward took me to one of the last intact resistance headquarters.
So inside
a signals base, never filmed before and in a most unlikely location.
And then if we come out here and open this hatch, then what we have is a lever that we twist to unlock the secret door.
So what do? We'll just lift it up?
Yeah, just lift it straight up.
Okay, I'm lifting. Oh, look at that. It seems really peculiar to think of people using this entrance, rehearsing for the unthinkable.
We've got a network here of all the signal stations in the southwest of Britain, which shows how each station would link back to a central point. This was all done in complete secrecy. There might be German troops going past the road outside and you'll be able to transmit from in here without anybody being aware of it.
When the invasion threat receded, the Auxiliaries disbanded. Peter Potter went on to fight with the RAF, but he'll parade on Sunday in memory of those whose service was never officially recognised.
Although they were never put to the test, they deserve the recognition just as those of us who did be tested. The Home Guard would have been taken prisoner, but the Auxiliaries would have been shot. Although they were never put to the test, the Auxiliaries do deserve to be remembered.
Well, we're about 2 metres under the ground here. This is where a patrol, as it was called, of between 7 and 8 men would have spent a lot of their time. In between, of course, they'd be heading out to cause trouble amongst German forces. They were well armed, they were better armed than some of their uniformed colleagues. Of course, invasion never actually came, and a lot of the Auxiliaries went on to see service in other branches of the armed forces. And somehow they were forgotten. They didn't want to talk about what they had been asked to do, the ultimate sacrifice, just such a short lifespan. Well, now people here at Coles Hill, which was the training centre for Auxiliaries, are working to try and get some form of formal recognition. And you saw Peter Potter in that report. He will be at the Cenotaph this weekend. He's there, as he said in his report, not to represent himself, but to represent the many Auxiliaries who are no longer with us, or those who are still alive and still feel that their contribution, their desire to make the ultimate sacrifice has been forgotten. Back to you.
Indeed, Robert, thank you very much. Such an insightful report. Thank you. It's time now to take a look at the